Hello, folk and flick. How are you today? Just have one thing to say before I roll the video, and I'll try to choose some better pictures and video this time. I'm working up to things, but I have something serious I want to say before this. Trump alone can't fix it. I know there are real people out there who actually believe that he could. That's tragic. No leader can fix it. It's people power. People power. We have to have the guts to stand up and shift things. Do I give a fuck if people think I'm crazy to do this? Hell no. I'm not trying to be a hero, but I know I tried something and it fed my soul. It fed my spirit. It made me want to get up in the morning because I know I'm on the right side of history. Yes, I do. I know that as well as you know that Jesus loves you, okay? But the difference is, this Armageddon that's coming, we created it. We did it to ourselves, and we're the only people who can fix it for our children, for life on earth, and for future generations. So, calm down and do your meditation on that for a few minutes today before you go about your business. And thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you come back. Everything's still working, so we can live to fight another day. Brillianti, check you later. We can't greenwash our way into a bright future. 2 articles today say a lot about our current predicament. I know the fence-sitters, the deniers, the Ayn Rand cultists, the neoliberal financialization experts, consultants for the uber-wealthy, economic growth cultists, golfers, addicts, Kardashians, office clerks, salaried men and women, executives, salespeople, shopkeepers, and zombie consumers are all doing their best to avoid facing the facts, the truth. Their cognitive dissonance might have to be surgically removed. That's how stubborn they are. I'll say it again. They can't conceive of the forest for the IKEA furniture. They are happy I say, paying for wars when the global players order a reset, when the banks run out of reasons to print money for investment banks to fuel the game. The people might call a war a reset if they were more aware of how the world works. Instead, they feel it's peacemaking, or that it's necessary to spread freedom, democracy, liberalism, Judeo-Christian, or Western values. During and after the reset, ordinary people sing hymns and patriotic songs while remembering their fallen heroes. Chris Hedges' book title aptly illustrates their catharsis. War is the force that gives us meaning. It's a good read. I highly recommend it. They have been adequately brainwashed into believing that their leaders have their best interests at heart and are not merely in it for the money and the power. Think Dick Cheney, even if you think the movie was inaccurate or unfair. The system trains us to compete with each other and fight among ourselves. We are confused and retreat to the comfort of our tribe, where we retrench and harden our hearts. Ordinary people get all fired up when they hear weasel words and terms they don't understand but have been taught to fear. Ordinary people are easy to point and shoot. Tell them socialism is a bad word, and they will use grotesque invective when referring to a socialist. Those beep, mother beeping socialists, kill them all. It's sad, but we are that easy to manipulate, and we don't even know it. We think we are making this stuff up as we go along. We have the illusion of a creative process when, in reality, we are programmed zombies going about some other person's business. I'm writing this in Hong Kong now, where thousands of people are in the streets fighting for their minimal but precious rights. All they want is for their leaders to keep their promises. I'm sad to say that they don't stand a chance. If mainland Chinese people don't join their struggle is lost. Meanwhile, Steve Bannon, that limelight-seeking vandal, gives speeches to the players about how America is letting China down and nothing but regime change in Beijing can sort the world out. Special forces consisting of economic hitmen continue to destroy Venezuela's economy, creating yet another refugee crisis. The player's story is that the blame for Venezuela's woes can be laid squarely at the feet of Maduro. He alone brought it upon the people. Of course, the people had already voted to keep Maduro in a free and fair election, only to have Koch Industries and their CIA minions fund an opposition party that has no legs and no legitimacy. And the faithful believe it without question. The millionaires who are being paid by billionaires on cable TV spout the propaganda like deep fake puppets. So what's in the news except absurd irony and more honest attempts to point decent people in a new direction? A direction that will save their children's lives and give them the better life that they feel is their duty to provide. First, let's look at an article in that radical rag known as the National Geographic. It cites studies that say that the best way for city dwellers to combat the existential threat of climate change is to consume less. It made me chuckle because people like myself have been saying this for 30 years. Remember what the 46th president of the great United States said was the answer to the last economic crisis? That great fleecing of the people? Just go shopping. George W. Bush. Now, National Geographic is telling us that the only thing we have to do to come out smelling like a rose garden is to take a green shower, which means to say, to shop less. I shake my head slowly, staring at the floor. My shoulders slumped, before turning on YouTube to find inspiration from Jordan Peterson. Next, we have some more honest and prescient advice published on Jacobin titled, Stop Polluting Our Green New Deal. And I'm going to include it here, in case you don't want to read the article. In it, they list the 10 pillars of the Green New Deal for Europe. 1. Faced with the emergency of the climate and ecological crisis, winning slowly is the same as losing. The Green New Deal, then, must meet the scale of the challenge with sufficient investment in an economic transformation that respects our planetary boundaries, not only decarbonizing our economies, but also reversing biodiversity loss. 2. The burden of our transition cannot fall on the shoulders of working families. So the Green New Deal must be grounded in Keynesianism. The money must be raised by public banks issuing green bonds. 3. The green transition cannot be a top-down process. Instead, the Green New Deal must be infused with democracy, empowering citizens and communities to make the decisions that shape their futures. 4. Europe, like the United States, is mired in a mix of unemployment, underemployment, and precarious employment that fails to generate prosperity for working families. The Green New Deal must be a program of job creation, providing a decent job to all those who seek one. 5. It must also move beyond a job guarantee and raise the standard of living for all. For example, the Green New Deal must construct millions of sustainable homes and smart energy grids, addressing the crisis of housing insecurity and poverty. 6. The standard of living generated by the Green New Deal cannot be clawed back by the interests of capital. So the Green New Deal must create structures that entrench equality within and between countries, regardless of race, sexuality, gender, age, or ability. By taking the interests of finance head-on and challenging its pursuit of short-term gain for the few over long-term prosperity for the many. 7. The Green New Deal is an opportunity to reimagine our future. It must harness our collective knowledge and invest in technological advancements that will liberate us from labor, not increase shareholder value. 8. Measuring progress through GDP growth is at the root of our crisis of inequality and environmental devastation. So the Green New Deal must abandon the dogma of GDP growth and focus on what matters: health, happiness, and the environment. 9. Because we cannot solve the environmental crisis on our own, the Green New Deal must redress the colonial legacy of aggressive pollution and resource extraction across the global South. It must support others in their green transition and ensure that the supply chains that drive the green transformation are committed to principles of social and environmental justice. 10. Finally, the Green New Deal must graduate our environmental policies from negotiation to action. After nearly 30 years of failed negotiations under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Green New Deal is an opportunity for a decisive shift towards credible, specific measures targeted at every area of our societies. Now, it sounds to me like these people in Europe have read the Zeitgeist Movement Explained and the new human rights movement books by Peter Josephs. They didn't have to. There are dozens, hundreds of books that point people towards this train of thought. It's all out there. The more you educate yourself about history and ecology and economics and psychology and everything else, the more you'll bump into these ideas, you know? Yeah, there's friction there. There's arguments, disagreements, but it all points towards a sustainable economic model that, if not realized, is going to bring death and destruction to life on Earth, and that includes us. We are only mammals. It doesn't matter that we're clever and at the top of the food chain. Okay, that's all for today, except to say, fence sitters, I want you to try to persuade me that the Zeitgeist Movement is not a great way to frame humanity's struggle during the first quarter of the 21st century. Come on, don't be afraid. My team argues to discover, not to injure. You'll be safe with us. It may hurt a little bit to think that your world isn't perfect, but when you see the possibilities of a new world, you'll be fine. You'll be happy. You'll be excited. You'll join the movement. You'll join other movements, and we'll do our best. All right. Everything's still working, so thanks a lot for tuning in, and I hope you come back. Take good care. Be good to each other. Bye.